just the average dude, not the game agencies, none of them. The average guy looks at EHD and goes, that's a problem. And then they look at CWD and they go, that doesn't really seem like a problem. Now, that was at the beginning of 2025. And then I really deep dived into the National Deer Association and CWD towards the end of 2025, back in like November. So when we started writing about October again, we used to have the blog. We do a couple million people a month to the website, and that kind of all went away. When we started writing again in September, October time, I went back and just started writing one post on CWD. It was CWD versus EHD. And anybody listening to this, I guarantee you, they're going to say, oh, it makes people so mad when I put those two together, because everybody that hunts, like just the average dude, not the game agencies, none of them. The average guy looks at EHD and goes, that's a problem. And then they look at CWD and they go, that doesn't really seem like a problem. And in November, I wrote a post and immediately it got 15 million views. It was crazy. I was like, wait, how in the world does a post just jump to 15 million views when I put a sick deer with EHD and then a CWD deer, and I just write 2 paragraphs on it? And I kind of found that there's a niche here where you can just write in small chunks in series and get people to pay attention. But there's a couple tricks to it. One is you have to be accurate. The other is you have to have really good information that people don't have. And the other one is you have to be entertaining. If you're missing one of those 3, you're just not going to be like, nobody cares. So I had fun with it. I was accurate, and I had a bunch of information nobody knew about. And the way I got that information was through public records requests. Now, when I first started writing about CWD, which is what most people know me for right now, it was completely on accident. I just knew something was off. I posted it, 15 million views, like I said. And then I took a step back. I immediately was like, okay, I need to be like really, really knowledgeable about this if I'm going to speak on it, because people are already messaging me, calling me, emailing me saying, hey, we know this is wrong too. Keep up the good work. And I'm like, man, I'm just not an expert on this stuff. So I took a month and a half without writing about it and just reading every study I could find. And when I was reading those studies, I realized that there were some organizations that were pushing these studies. And the National Deer Association was one of them. I start going down that rabbit trail a little bit, and I realized I file some public records requests on where money's going. You know, follow the money. You hear people say that all the time, follow the money, but nobody ever really follows the money. So I follow the money, and I find that the Missouri Department of Conservation is writing checks to the National Deer Association. And I go, why? What's this for? So I file the public records. I get the actual contracts that are associated with these, with all that money. And basically what the Missouri Department of Conservation does is they give $128,000 a year, and the Missouri Department of Conservation sends 2 employees over to the National Deer Association to be deer. What was their? What was it? It was deer outreach specialists. That's what it was. It was deer outreach specialists, and they're paying these kids $60,000 a year to go around and push their policies. So, you know, obviously waste, fraud, and abuse is all in the media. This isn't fraud per se, because it's not illegal what they're doing. But these government agencies will give money to NGOs, and then they will say, hey, look, this is all in the contract. I've posted all this stuff. It's all public now because I've put it out there. In the contract, the Missouri Department of Conservation, Jason Sumners, who I interviewed at the SEI show where you were at, it says that they're responsible for their pay, for what their job is, for their training, for what they do, for where they go. Well, that's just an employee. So why are you funneling the money through the National Deer Association? It's because if the public knew that they were doing that. So say Jason set up a job for the Missouri Department of Conservation, and it's like, hey, here's a deer outreach specialist, and his job is to push all of the things that I think you should do. Well, nobody would approve of that. They'd immediately shut that down. The state legislators would jump in. They would immediately get rid of all that. And so he tried to do it through an NGO. And I put that out there. He sees this. I put his face on Facebook. I don't care. Like, listen, the industry's hated me from the beginning because I'll report on anything. I'll say what's real. I mean, and I do want to take one step back and let everybody know, if I'm ever wrong about something, I have an open, like I say, hey, my personal phone number is on my page. I get hundreds of millions of views a month, and my personal phone number's on there. Call me. Tell me what I got wrong. Let's talk about it. If I get something wrong, I write about it more than the things that I'm getting right.
Yeah, I can attest to that, because most of the time that I get a phone, he gets a phone call and he comes down and tells me about it. And I'm like, he just got a phone call from, like, say, Michigan, and he's like, dude, this guy just called me, and he's like saying, dude, keep it up, keep going after him, keep going after the National Deer Association, or keep going after CWD, and they're all hyped up about what he's doing and what we're posting. So he keeps talking about that all the time. It's like every day we're working, is 2 or 3 times a day at least, he's getting text messages, or some guy's calling him, or getting emails or something.
Yeah.
So he's really touching a note with the average everyday hunter. So it's definitely true what he's saying.
Yeah, it's everyday hunters call me. It's state politicians. I've had calls from federal politicians, like on this, people that are like, hey man, just keep this between us. But I just wanted to say that, I mean, state level politicians especially, every day I'll get a state rep, a state senator, something like that, calling me, asking me questions, saying, they've offered to come on our podcast. I don't really have a podcast. I mean, I kind of do. It's me ranting a little bit about what the things that I don't elaborate on Facebook, but it's nonstop now. It's just constantly. And that's why I put my phone number out there, is because I don't want to I'm not necessarily part of the industry, kind of like you guys. Like, it's the same thing where I don't care about the industry. I don't take sponsorships because I don't want anybody to tell me what to say. The National Deer Association, or not them, the Missouri Department of Conservation.
Let me stop you there for just a second. I think you misspoke. It's not that we don't care about the industry.
Yeah.
We care about it. That's why we do what we do.
Yes, I care about the industry a lot. That's why I do it. But I don't care about the businesses and the money side of things. We have
don't
businesses.
care about the machine of the industry. The machine of the industry. It's like we're pushing back against kind of that. That's we've talked about that before. It's like the industry seems like it's become a machine lately, and it's like everybody's like a gear that turns and turns and turns, and we want to be kind of the one that's like almost like the counterculture.
Well, and to your point, all you got to do is scroll through Facebook or TikTok, and you see all these influencers we talked about a little bit, that have 3,000 followers, and they've got 15 different sponsors. You got fucking Yeti, and you got Mossy Oak, and you got this shoe brand and this bow brand, and what the fuck have they actually done?
Yeah, nothing. I get 300 million views a month on average. Nobody will take me on as a sponsor except for like small companies, and I turn those down.
Yeah, we have more followers than probably 99% of the Facebook, hunting brands. And it's crazy that, like I could probably go ask for sponsorships. I don't think I've ever asked for a sponsorship.
I don't think we have. I've never reached out. I've never asked for a free hunt. I've never done any. People send us stuff, but like the whole. But my point is with the industry, with Missouri Department of Conservation. There's another aspect of this I want to touch on. I think is pretty important. You have the game agencies, you have the NGOs, and then you have the AFWA. I've just been digging into them. I haven't even really wrote about this at all. It's basically all of the game agencies get together, and then they have like a little powwow together, and they all high five each other, and the way I describe it is, imagine going to a doctor, you get a diagnosis, and then you say, hey, you know what? I need a second opinion. And you look at the exact same doctor and you go, hey, what do you think? And then obviously they're going to say the same thing. And then you say, you know what? I need a third opinion. And you ask the same doctor. That's what it is. You have NGOs telling the game agencies, telling the AFWA, and they're all the same exact people. Jason Sumners sits on the board of AFWA on the federal level. He sits on the board of the National Deer Association that he gives money to, by the way, the contracts I talked about earlier, and he's the head of the Missouri Department of Conservation. Chuck Sykes, who was the former Alabama head of the DNR up there, he was making like $300,000 a year. Then he moved to AFWA, and then he was their president for a while, making $300,000 a year. And once he retires, guess what he does? He gets to move to another NGO, not the National Deer Association. I forget which one it is, but it's a $200,000 a year job, and they got a federal grant for $1 million over the next 5 years, which comes out to his exact salary. Like, that's not a coincidence. So when people say follow the money, I'm actually following the money. And every time I do, it's I almost feel like a tinfoil hat person sometimes, because I'm like, wait a second, this can't be real. And then, I'll get some pushback. I think it's important to address the steel man all of your arguments. I try to always do that. I sit around. That's one thing that Aaron really helps me with is I'll come to him. I'm like, listen, I've got to be crazy.
I'm the voice of reason.
But the thing is, he's supposed to be. But how many times have I come to you and just gone, hey man, look, they're sitting on all these things. What am I getting wrong? Like I have to be missing something here. And we go over everything.
I try and push back with using arguments. I'm like, what about this? What about this? And it's just like I'm hitting brick walls with the pushback. I'm like, I can't find things that make logical sense to what you're telling me and you're showing me the research. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Because you're firing back at me. This is what I'm seeing, and I'm looking at what you're showing me. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make sense, but could it be this? You're like, no, that's not it. No, that's not it.
Or I'll stop you and I'll say, hey, well, let's go file some public records before I post. I'm really careful on this.
Yeah,
stuff.
Or we'll go look at that. Or that's a good point. We'll go look at that and make sure that it's not that.
And this is actually a good transition right here. I think this is important because on my page I have something I call the 100 million view challenge. Anybody that can show me a single deer population that's been decimated by CWD and not CWD policy, I will give them 100 million views. I will write about it. I will podcast about it. I will make videos about it until everyone in this country knows that CWD is a problem. And I've put this out there to these biologists, to these game agencies. I've been putting it out there for months. Once a month.